They change their style of living. So how much money is at their disposal is going to drive that decision. If you are born rich, it is said that there are drawbacks to be born rich because you're low IQ with financial management. So there are people who I know, there's a gentleman, he inherited his parents' house and land. He was the only child. When they died, it was completely his. He sold it and bought a car. And he crashed the car 3 months later, wrote it off. So we need, when he was selling the house and looking to buy the car and so on, he needs somebody inside of these financial institutions to put some sense in his head. And there are some people, you have to use a hammer to drive it home. So how your partner view money is also crucial, because you might be married to somebody who thinks of money differently, thinks of finance in a different way. You might have a saver that you are married to. You might be a spendthrift. But God help you if you are married to a spendthrift. So forging good relationship between the financial institution and the customers is important. Mutual trust. We must trust each other, client and business. Forming this relationship must be a concerted effort. You can't acquire friendship in the same way as assets, and so therefore you must have that trust component. The financial institution, do you all know each other? Do you know your clients? Do you know the people who come into the credit union? This is my statement, my own coin. Trust germinates after being planted in the soil of knowledge. Know your people. And this is the difference between banks and credit unions. Credit unions were placed in villages. Banks are placed in towns. So therefore, credit unions knew the people. And you must know who they are, their nature, etc. So take the time to teach customers everything that they need to know about saving, borrowing, and investing, and so on. That's the human side. Learn the customer habits, decision-making process, and their lifestyle. This book is a wonderful book. William James, all our life, so far as it has definite form, is but a mass of habits. All of us are moved by habits. You tend to sleep on the same side of your bed every night. Your house will have a couch, a love seat, a chair, 2 tables, what have you. And your father or somebody who thinks they are the alpha, you'll be sitting in a chair. There are all chairs all around, and they'll say, move, you're inside of my seat. You're in my chair. Because we are habit-forming people. You go to church, you sit on the same side of the pew. The pastor looks out and say, oh, sister so-and-so is missing. Why? Your chair is empty. So we are creatures of habit. Most of everyday choices are not well-considered decisions, but are manifestations of habits. So is your client. So are your staff. Saving and spending are habits, not necessarily conscious decisions. 40% of our actions each day are habits, says Duke University. Habits formed can be transformed. You can change habits. So this is what the mega stores do. They study the physical shopping habits of customers, just as you should be studying the spending and saving of your customers. They study them. They watch at most shoppers. They said inside of that book, I was amazed when he said, most shoppers enter a store and turn right. So detailed is their study. They turn right. So what the store owners do is put most of the stuff that they want to sell on the right side of the store. They have reviewed thousands of hours of footage. Right here in Trinidad, I went at a particular place that sells cosmetics. And I stood there, and I was there with my wife, and I said, let's try this out and see if what this guy says is right. And we stood there, and I checked 20 people. 18 of them walked in and automatically turned right. Two of them didn't, and it seemed as though they knew what they were going for. They went straight to it and went straight to the cashier because they were in a hurry, and they turned left. One of the two recognized that the line was sort of too long there and just went left. But 18, they have studied them so well. Do you know your customers so intimately? Do you know them? That you can tell what they will do? Can you tell at which age? Because what they do, they would notice that somebody comes in and purchases baby formula. So they can tell pregnancies or birth is somewhere. So they start marketing the person for that. Can you tell your customer, when your customer comes in to take a loan or to do a particular transaction, what stage of life they are in? Those are the information that gives you the human side of it. So let's rush along so that we can come out. Retailers therefore fill the right side of the store. Marketers predict and manipulate habits. Your shopping habits are analyzed and determined and change in lifestyle. For example, they can tell if you're expecting a baby. Sometimes they can tell long before you got the baby that you expect a baby. Why? Because they may also have the pharmacy that would show that the doctor had sent you for something. That tells the reason why the doctor probably sent for this in the pharmacy. It might be because you're pregnant, and start marketing you. So detailed. The one on this side here, $50 and $75. When they ask people which one would you buy, they said they will buy the $50 one. So well, some say, well, this one might be too cheap. So I'm going to buy this one here because it's not too far from 50. So most people buy this because they don't want to appear cheap. So they buy this. So here's what the marketer does. He will put the $50 one, $75 one. He has no intention of selling this. No intention of selling it. So what he does is change. Oh, no. Let me correct that. The study said most people buy the $50 one and not want to go to the 75 because they say, well, it's kind of close. So what they do is put the more expensive one here so that you will now change your mind from this so that it will be in between both of them. Yeah? So you'll buy the $75 one, but they had no intention of selling the 121 because they manipulate our minds and our thoughts. You need to know your customers. They do. And so, can the savings and spending habits of customers inspire credit unions to offer particular loans specific to individual customers? Can you use data for clues according to age, family size, and goals in a person's life? Can you tell when they become in university or they just finished university and they now come out on the job market? Can you tell that? Well, if you can't, then we should, because that's the human side of financial services. Jim once said, no man can drift to the top of a hill. You've got to study people and consciously move them. And so therefore I hope that I've been able to affect you in some way to help you to understand at least a human side to your financial services. Thank you very much.
Is Mr. Stewart in the right business? Okay, so he's not a stand-up comedian. By virtue of your acknowledgement, I think he did justice to the subject. So let's give him another round of applause.
Thank you.
Don't go yet. Opportunity for only 2 questions or comments. Going once.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stewart. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicia. My question is, how do we get the digital immigrants to adhere to a lot of what you said just now? All the information is there, and it's hard to get them to, we need to market this information to them, but I mean, some of us don't know how, so how can we do that?
Yeah.
training. The organization needs to recognize that we have two dispensations in the same place. And I hope that the organization doesn't have one like my mother. Because my mother wanted to get my brother from the States to send her some US money. And so he said, well, he can't get it there under a certain number of days. And she turned to me and said, but then he does send email one time? So she thought he could have just emailed it. So she's less than an immigrant. She's a stowaway. She's an alien. So the organizations must put training in place for these dinosaurs that are in the credit unions. You hear me? Right.
Is she alive?
My name is Winston Tomlinson from Trelawney Cooperative Credit Union in Jamaica. We just celebrated 50 years of existence. And engaged in the credit union for the past 40 years. And simple message I put in the newspaper to say, and I encourage other credit union practitioners. There are just two words I use, and I say it's E and E. Two most important words as credit union operators is empathy and equity. So I just encourage all of you to apply those two E's to the movement, equity and empathy. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Wise. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Stewart.
Thank you very much.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have come to the end of a packed and what I hope was a rewarding, informative, fulfilling day. Do you agree with me? I want to remind you that tomorrow we have another packed, engaging day. But before we get to that, there are a number of other things that's happening. A few housekeeping notes. Our delegates meeting will start in 10 minutes next door, just behind here. Announcement number 2, all participants visiting QLAP's booth will get a chance to win a tablet. Also, if one participant from each country visits, one lucky winner will win 500 US. Hopefully you'll donate that to our building fund, right? Housekeeping announcement 2. Please remember that Caribbean Night and Soca Explosion events will both take place at the waterfront. You're also reminded that for Caribbean Night, participants must present the Caribbean Night invitation provided at registration. It starts at 8 p.m. tonight, and the directions: you exit the lobby, make a right, then a left, then you follow the music. Okay? Director Remy will also advise you on